Nebraska plays Northern Illinois. Matt Rhule's first ever game at Memorial Stadium, the home opener for Nebraska. So in this video, we're going to break down Northern Illinois' roster, keys to win for Nebraska, and why it's so important for Matt Rhule to get the win in front of the home crowd. So before we get into it, please hit the subscribe button. We're nearing up 400 subscribers, so that'll really help me out. We have pregame, postgame, live streams, recruiting updates, everything on this channel, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Without further ado, let's get into it. So before we get into Northern Illinois, I just want to talk about how big of a game this is. So we know that Matt Rhule was hyped up all offseason long, and then you play Minnesota, one of your biggest rivals, in conference. You lose that game, and then the next week you go and play Colorado with Deion Sanders. You hate Colorado, Nebraska's most hated rival of all time. You go in there, you lose that game. Not only do you lose that game, you get blown out and embarrassed on national television. And Nebraska fans, for far too long, have been waiting for results. And we haven't seen any. And it's tough from a Nebraska fan standpoint because you have to sit here and deal with another coach saying it's going to take time, because we've heard the same thing with Scott Frost and we heard the same thing with Mike Riley. So it's frustrating to hear that. That's why it's so important for Matt Rhule to go out there and win this ballgame. He needs to. And he needs to be in dominating fashion because you need people back on your side. You cannot lose the state this early. And there are people who are frustrated because there are people who drunk the Kool-Aid. And when you start off with losses in that manner where you play Minnesota and you gave away the game, you completely dominated them, to be honest with you, and then you gave it away right at the end like we saw with Scott Frost, and then you play Colorado the next week and get blown out, right? That's two deflating losses. So super important for Matt Rhule to win this game. But yeah, let's just get into Northern Illinois. So right now we're a 11-point favorite. Northern Illinois is one of the more interesting teams. They're 1-1. They had a win over Boston College at Boston College. Yeah, they can beat a Power 5 team. And we saw that a couple years ago when they came to Lincoln 2017 and beat us here. They've experienced beating Power 5 teams. They've experienced beating us. Last week, however, they lost to Southern Illinois for the second year in a row. That's an FCS team. So one of the more interesting teams in college football. They start off their year beating a Power 5 team and they lose to an FCS team the next week. So something to watch. Starting quarterback, you might recognize the name Rocky Lombardi going into his 7th year of college. He hasn't been great. He has not been great in his Northern Illinois career. Didn't really play good in his first 2 games of the season. Only 55% of his throws have been completed. He threw 3 interceptions against Northern Illinois, and 2 were inside the red zone. So not really a great quarterback at this point in time. It's just kind of one of the sad cases. He was at Michigan State, really failed to develop. So he hasn't been awesome. Going to the running back room, they have a couple guys there. Gavin Williams really headlines that room. He's a transfer from Iowa, along with Ontario Brown. So those are guys who really trade off carries. I'd expect Gavin Williams to get a handful of the carries against us. So definitely something to watch. They do have a pretty solid running back room. Wide receiver room is not very deep. They have one main guy, that being Casper Rutkiewicz. He has 6 more targets than everybody else. Is their leading receiver. He's basically Rocky Lombardi's go-to guy. But besides that, the offense has really struggled. The running game has kind of failed to get going. Rocky Lombardi hasn't been awesome, but the passing game has been basically the only upside of this offense. Their O-line has not been great. They've given up a couple sacks already this year. Overall, this isn't really a high-scoring team. I want to pull up real quick their thing again. So yeah, they only put up 27 points against Boston College, and then they put up 11 points against Southern Illinois. So this is not a high-scoring offense. Going to the defense side of the ball, linebackers and secondary aren't very impressive, but their D-line is the best unit on this team. They have George Gums and Roy Williams, who are combined for 3 sacks already this year and 9 total tackles. This is a solid unit. This is a unit where they can disrupt the ball game if you allow them to. Especially with Harburg starting. If they pressure Harburg and the O-line doesn't come through for Nebraska, we could be in for a long night. So definitely a good unit on this team is their D-line. Again, linebackers and secondary, nothing special. But really, this is a Northern Illinois team who we know has been one of the better Group of 5 teams the last couple of years, have dominated the MAC. Again, they beat Boston College. And I know people are going to come in here and say, well, Boston College isn't very good. We aren't very good either, folks. I would say we're worse than Boston College. So yeah, that's worrisome. That's very worrisome. The fact that they beat Boston College. When they're playing good football, they can beat a Power 5 team, and they can beat us. The thing about Boston College was interesting is that they're in a very similar boat to us. They have a struggling offense with a quarterback who can't throw the football. Does that sound very familiar to you? Yeah. Same deal. So, really, we need to win this ball. We need to win this ball game. So here are my keys to the game. With Harburg starting, it's important to establish a running game. I have said time and time again, I do not trust Heinrich Harburg. I don't. I know there's an appeal to see him out there. We've already seen Chuba. Chuba was not great last year. Everybody really loves the Nebraska kid. It's a great story. They love Nebraska kids staying home. All right. This is a dude who's never played in his career. He was on the scout team last year. He was quarterback 3 going into the year before Chuba Purdy got hurt with a groin injury. And honestly, the only reason why he's starting in this game is because Sims is hurt and Chuba Purdy's hurt. And we have no options behind that. Like Harburg, here's the problem with Harburg, okay? And I'll just get into this really quick, is that he struggles with the mental aspect. From a physicality standpoint, he's great, right? He's a really fast player. He can throw the ball 70 yards. It's just the intangibles. He cannot figure out that. And that's why he's on the scout team. He couldn't learn the playbook. I don't trust him throwing the football. I don't. I don't trust him throwing the football. So we need to establish a running game. You have a plethora of backs. You have Gabe Ervin. You have Anthony Grant. You have Ramir Johnson. You have Emmett Johnson. Establish a running game. That helps out. Yeah, that helps out Harburg. That's number one. Number two, do not give up more than 14 points. I do not believe this offense is built to come back, nor do I believe this offense is built to beat a team who puts up more points than, 2 touchdowns. This offense has not been great. We put up 27 combined points in the last 2 games, averaging 13.5 points. Okay, that's why I said you can't give up more than 14 or else you're going to lose. Because I really don't have any confidence in this team putting up more than 30 points against a bad Northern Illinois team because of how our offense operates and how we're starting a backup quarterback. And not to say that Sims would have been any better, but that's concerning. Third key, this is massive. Win the turnover battle. I compare us a lot to Iowa. Like, Iowa's incompetency offensively is very similar to we are. However, you know what Iowa has going for them? They have a defense who forces turnovers and puts their offense in a situation where you literally have to convert, right? Either a field goal or a touchdown. That's what we need here. Rocky Lombardi is not a perfect quarterback. Their O-line is not perfect. You got to win this turnover battle. And you have guys like Omar Brown. You have guys like Malcolm Hartzog who are able to get those picks. We need some forced fumbles in this ballgame. We need pressure on Rocky Lombardi. Their O-line, again, like I just said, is not great. So, got to win the turnover battle. And that goes for us. Like, Harburg needs to be conservative. Needs to be conservative in this game. I have a really bad feeling that if we let Harburg get going, it will be a long day watching him throw the football. Yeah. I just don't trust Harburg. Number 4, wide receivers need to have a big game. The wide receivers, and not to, blame the wide receivers on Sims being as bad as he has been, but let's think about it from this perspective. Billy Kemp had no catches against Minnesota. Alex Bullock had no catches against Colorado, and he had a key drop. Marcus Washington's been inconsistently in and out of the lineup. Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda is out for the year. Ty Hahn is a walk-on, right? Like, this wide receiver unit has not shown up. They need to show up, and we need to put the best players on the field. Jalen Lloyd should get more playing time. Jaden Doss should get on the field, right? These true freshmen who we've heard about all camp, put them on the field. Put on the best talent. They need to have a ball game. They need to put Heinrich Harburg in a situation where if we're throwing the football, they're doing him a favor. Because right now, the wide receivers have had no separation, and they've not been playing well. And the last key to the game for Nebraska is the O-line. If Harburg has any pressure, this is a very good D-line for Northern Illinois. He will scramble. He will panic. He will make a bad play. We've seen it time and time and again with quarterbacks like him. And that, especially with quarterbacks who struggle with the mental capacity like he does, they tend to, when they're pressured, they tend to make bad decisions. And they tend to not tuck the football and fumble the football. And if the O-line has a bad game tomorrow, especially the tackles, we are not in an awesome situation. I'm worried about this ballgame, folks. I'm worried about this ballgame. We are not a high-scoring offense. This is the worst offense we have had in the modern history of Nebraska football. Period. Okay, this is an awful offense. This defense has been playing well, but it's not a defense that's built on turnovers as of right now. We haven't seen it. We also have seen that, honestly, I think if Northern Illinois wants to gash us through the run, they probably could. If Rocky Lombardi throws this football, I think we're in a better spot. It's frustrating because what happens is we have a couple good stops on defense, and then the offense comes back on the field, and then they have a 3-and-out, and defense is right back on. Okay, when your defense is on the field as much as they are, for example, the Colorado game, sooner or later the offense is going to figure things out, and they're going to start to gash your defense, right? It took Colorado till the second half to figure something out. But that was because they were on the field all freaking game because the offense had nothing going on for them. Yeah, this defense cannot be on the field nearly as much as they have been. So I'm worried about this game. This is a statement by Matt Rule. I'm not looking for a close ball game in this game, okay? I don't care. I don't care who you're starting at quarterback. You should blow out Northern Illinois. And if you lose this ball game, because I am worried you will, because Northern Illinois is not a joke. They are a solid MAC team who beat Boston College and has beat us before, and we are not a good Power 5 team. If you lose this game, Matt Rule, I mean, just listen to Big Red overreaction after the game. I mean, just listen to the fan base at the stadium. We're not going to be happy. 0-3 start. It's giving me flashbacks. It's giving me a little bit of flashbacks. Somebody mentioned in my comments, this is all setting up to be Troy 2018 all over again. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. So I hope we win this ball game. I think we do win this ball game because at the end of the day, Matt Rule, I still believe he's a good game managing head coach. We are more talented than Northern Illinois, obviously. When you either win games because of talent or because of coaching. I believe we have both of them. And if we lose this ball game, it's not going to be because of talent. It'll be because of coaching and a lack of coaching, therefore. But I think we win this ball game. It'll be a low-scoring affair. It'll be a low-scoring affair. I think we win 24 to about 7. And it'll just be that way the entire ball game. Yeah, it might honestly be a close game. I could very well see it going 14-7 at halftime. Or 7-7 at halftime. We're sweating it out. So, but we'll win. I don't think it'll be a blowout. We'll cover the spread, only 11-point spread, but we will win this football game. And if we don't, man, it's going to be a long week here in Nebraska. So let me know if you guys have anything to add in the comment section. If you do like the content, again, please hit the like button and subscribe. We're nearing 400. Just really would help me out. And yeah, that's about it for the video. So as always, go Big Red, go Mac Rule, and see you in the next one.